Hey guys, it's Kai again, and today we're going to be building another coaster in Dragon Park, which I quite frankly have kind of neglected for the past few weeks. Well, I said that it was because I was on holiday. The truth be told, I was just kind of feeling a bit burnt out with the park. Though right now I actually really got excited and really want to go back and start building some things. And one thing I really wanted to build was a dive coaster. Well, a B&M dive coaster, I guess. Geslower now builds one too. But what I really wanted to do was just create a more fast-paced layout with maybe like some more untraditional layouts for a B&M dive coaster. Because, truth be told, I typically don't find much enjoyment in dive coasters at all. Like, it's kind of become a meme in the coaster enthusiast community that everybody just shits on B&M dive coasters, but in all honesty, I haven't really written a one that I found that fun. And I mean, I've written things like Yukon Striker and Chikra and stuff like that, and I didn't really enjoy those too much. Though I don't really think it's really that much of a fault of the coaster itself, and I really think it's more of a fault of B&M wanting to, well, essentially produce for Master of Peel, not really having very high forces, not really having that whippy inversions anymore. And I just kind of wanted to remedy that with a more of an untraditional layout. And as you can see, I wanted a very terrain-focused layout, because I think those always work very good with dive coasters. And I really wanted to add a second drop-in, where you can actually hold over the edge. At first I kind of just made everything too narrow and not high enough with the lift hill. And it just ended up that the brake run had to be kind of on an incline, though I fixed that later on. I don't think it would be too bad if the brake run was on an incline though. I just think it would be better to just have it at the very least straight. In fact, the coaster in the end actually rolls into the brake run with a little bit of speed left, which is quite good, but it's also a bit slow, I must say though. I don't really think it's too bad, considering this is the very wide, like Griffon 10 car wide trains, and in real life this coaster would probably have something like 6 or maybe even 8 passengers per row. Did I just say 10 car trains? I mean 10 passenger train, 10 row? 10 passengers per row? I don't know what to say. Anyways, what I then decided to do was to just kind of fix the layout afterwards. And I really just wanted to, instead of just adding a very slow ejector airtime hill that was barely floater in the end, I decided to go for a big roll with some good hang time. And this was also around the time when I decided that I really wanted to fix the first half, because first of all the forces of the drop were kind of weird and too high, and second of all the inversions were just way too tight, and it was even an issue with clearance with the brake run, the mid-course. I think there's still a little bit of a clearance issue, but I just kind of think that they probably would have it that this part is part of like the first block zone, and then they won't drop the train until that one is cleared. Even then, they can't really stall at that part, so I don't even think it would be that bad. But what I then decided to do was to just make the dive loop a bit more, well, I guess a little bit more of an Immelman. So I essentially just added a little bit of a twisted airtime hill, a little bit of a cutback that goes into an Immelman instead of just a normal looping. And then was also the time where I realized that I should probably raise the height of the coaster a bit, because the speed was just getting really low and I didn't want to have it just kind of just slump into the end. Oh yeah, and I of course used track limits mods, which makes me able to have the launch section on any coaster and launch it at 0 miles per hour, so it essentially just acts like a holding brake. And then of course, because it's invisible, I have to cover it up with some track. Alright, then I just did a bit of smoothing, and I even added, oh yeah, so probably mentioned, both drops are beyond vertical. I think the second one is like 95, 95, there we go, degrees. And the first one is, I think, like around 110 degrees. Because of course beyond vertical drops are cool because they give you a lot of ejector, since you're just getting thrown out of your seat when you're going beyond vertical. And while I have not been on Dr. Diabolicals, which is the B&M dive coaster that has a beyond vertical drop, probably because it only just opened and because it's in the US, I don't really know how good those are on B&M coasters, but I just kind of figured that I would try it. Then I decided to add supports, and one of the things I'm now experimenting with my videos is that I want to basically show the part, but just speed it up by 20 times the speed. My normal time lapses are actually around 10 times the speed, so this is like twice the amount, so to make it a bit less boring with all of the supports. Though at first I really wanted to add these very creamy beige color. And in the end I decided to go for more of a bronze orange color, though yeah, that color scheme is definitely more inspired by Dr. Diabolical Cliffhanger, I think it's called. It's a weird name. But the theming of this coaster I should probably mention. I wanted to have a Turkish theme, or more like Osmanian. Mainly because it's just on the verge of going from the Europe section into the Asia and Africa section, and I think the Osmanian Empire is was exactly that geographically. And also because I think that would be kind of cool. I don't have an exact theme yet, I don't even have a real name for the coaster, but I just think it was kind of fun. And one of the things I really thought had helped me out with these supports was a small mod that just added in the more B&M connector versions, because in-game the only connectors we have are the 90-degree ones, and they just simply won't do it, if I'm honest. Because, well, they are just simply only possible to add to 90 degrees, definitely, and they have these weird circular things in the end, which only really work when you connect it with 90 degrees to the connector, which you normally don't need made like that. Though what I must say is that the supports in-game actually quite good for B&M coasters, and I actually didn't go for the large B&M supports, but actually for more Aero supports. I think those are in game, they are a little bit smaller than the large B&M supports, but bigger than the smaller B&M supports, because of course dive coasters have bigger supports, though I didn't want to make them too big, considering that this would probably be like the 6 row wide version of the dive coaster, even though we really don't have that in game, and we don't even have a 6 row wide coaster to simulate that better. Actually, I even tried to add the 4 row wide Flotus coaster model, but it just simply didn't look right, so I put it off again because it was just way too narrow for a dive coaster. Oh yeah, what I'm building right here is a switch track, because of course you have to have some kind of storage for the coasters, and the switch track got a little bit too narrow, I think, but I think it's fine. It doesn't have to be 100% realistic. I just quickly built a structure out of steel beams, and I want to just kind of encase it in just a facade with the scenery around it. Though I'm actually going to start work on the station in this episode too, but first of all I want to add phalanges, I don't know how to say that. F and L together is just kind of a weird syllable to say, which I just kind of neglect sometimes, I must say, with my other coasters, but in this park I've been quite consistent with it, so I'm just really going to add them. Then afterwards I started work on the station building, which I wanted to really have this like Osmanian theme, maybe like a mosque theme or something like that. And I think it actually turned out decently for what I've built. I didn't build much, okay? As I said, I don't want to go overboard with the scenery and then have the park lag like crazy, because that's pretty much how all my parks died before. I just was getting too annoyed at the lag. Oh yeah, and as you can see, I actually added some concrete right there, so that if you need to take off a train or put on another train for like maintenance or whatever, you can just roll it up and use the switch track to just pull it off. Which is actually like what they do in real life, though. Mostly they just have like a hatch or something in the back of the switch track to a storage track to just get them off right there. And I also wanted to add just like a small shutter to just kind of hide it, and a small control panel to access that, and just put a train in there. I really want to hide the storage track because it's not really that. In a theme park, you don't really want your guests to see a normal operations thing, even though as a coaster enthusiast, I kind of like seeing those things as in the background. I think that is kind of neat. And for a station, I wanted to add like a marble kind of floor, and add like a more like brownish raised area, though not raised by too much, because of course you can't really simulate that too well in this game. And I really wanted to add some blue accents in, and I even want to later on in the walls just plaster them, put some wallpaper essentially on there, and have some actual like wood furniture with like blue accent, like blue mosaics around, because that's like what you typically see in those Osmanian architecture. I tried to look for something cool to add, like to give a bit of texture to it, but I didn't really find anything, so I just quickly started work on a small station cover. I used the same technique as the one I did for the SFX coaster, with just these adventure pieces. I'm not too sure about the color, it looks a bit like faded. Maybe I'm going to switch it up later on, but that's for the scenery episodes. Here I was a bit, I wanted to add a small kink in the queue path, because I want to add, first of all, a small piece of scenery, and because I want to add a separate waiting line for the front row, because that's what you typically see with dive coasters. They mostly have your lines split up into front row and second and third row. And let's be honest, front row is probably the best row, because you don't really get like too much more forces in the back, even though the drops are kind of nice sometimes in the back. But just this feeling of hanging over the edge on front row is just pretty much unparalleled, so I think that's the only thing you really want to do. So then I just quickly added a bit of terrain around it, and then afterwards I'm quickly just going to show you the POV, so have fun with that. We'll see us at the end. Alright, I think I actually, well, I quite liked this dive coaster in the end. I had some times where I just thought I should probably just give up and retry, though. I think in the end it pretty much worked out, and while it has some like problematic sections, considering like clearance or whatever, I think it actually just ended up being okay, pretty decent. And I really want to start work on the terrain around it, but before that I think I'm going to add another coaster in there, because for next episode I'm planning on building a aerodynamics suspended coaster, but not the family variety. I'll probably have like an Arabian theme or whatever, and well, I hope it will be kind of cool. So this is me signing off. Have a good day, a good night or whatever. See you soon.